You bet. Great to see everybody. Thanks for taking time to be here. Signing day, if you look around, I don't think you'll find a coach in college football that would say it's anything other than exciting and the building blocks of the program and foundation of what that looks like. And we are really excited about the 21 guys that we have signed up to this point. I think you look at the versatility in the class, the speed, the length, some of the things we were trying to address physically, at least in the incoming freshman class, on what that looks like. We hit in a lot of areas. There's a number of guys by position that we targeted. As I look back through the list and going into what went into the evaluation of all these guys, it's number one, it's still relationship-based for us. There's a number of these guys that we had the opportunity to have in summer camps, which was huge for us from an evaluation standpoint. And then the ability to work with their high school coaches, their parent/guardian, what that looked like on giving them the hope, the vision, and the belief on what we're building at Purdue and how important they are to the foundation of our program. And then you fast forward to have a chance to get them on campus, and then the things that you've talked about throughout that course of time in recruiting, they were able to see it. And it all circles back again to about the people that are part of Purdue. And so we're really excited about this group. Of the 21, right now 17 of them are on track to be mid-year grads, which will be huge for us in our winter conditioning, the Winning Edge program, spring practices. So they'll get a jump on what would be a normal freshman coming in June. So we're excited about that. And just because the other 4 right now won't be here in January, our goal is to get every one of these guys up to speed and in a position to help us immediately on September 5th next year. So really excited about it. It's so much more than myself as the head coach when this day really gets here. There are so many moving parts that make it happen, and I just wanted to bring a couple other staff members to the front. Butler Benton joined us not too long ago, Executive Director of Player Personnel. Brandon Lee, who has been here since really pretty close to when I started, which was not quite a year ago. He's our General Manager. And then Brad Odom is in recruiting, Director of Recruiting. So when the correspondents and then families get on campus, Brad's got a team of people that kind of help and take over. Brandon wears a hat of not only evaluation, but in the scope of rev share and looking at roster management, what that looks like. And then Butler, again, has so many different roles as we look at it and what has happened and changed in the speed of the calendar in recruiting. They all play vital roles in us building our class and our team. Butler is heavy into the evaluation of each position and what that looks like. And then obviously our assistant coaches, and then all 3 of these guys, they've got a team within themselves, and the collaboration and working together is one of the great things that I think now that we've got this in place will help Purdue and our recruiting fast forward to where we should be. So really excited about the opportunity to introduce these guys, and would certainly answer any questions that I can at this time.
Are there any traits or characteristics that you think kind of are shared amongst the class and maybe represent the class?
Yeah, I think you look at always the physical traits and those characteristics by position on what we're looking for, but more than anything, we really set out for guys, number one, that wanted to be at Purdue, and number 2, that have the toughness, the desire to play and prepare the game the way it's supposed to be played. So some of those things that don't show up in the stat book, those are something to me that all 21 guys have shown and displayed over the course of their high school or one guy in the junior college career.
You got 4 guys from Indiana. Just how important is in-state recruiting for you guys?
We're not where we want to be yet in that context. There will be a point that we reach that, but we're not there yet. We've got to continue to work in every area. But You know, we've talked since really we got here. If you draw a 5-hour radius around West Lafayette, there's, number one, really good high school coaches. There's really, really good programs. And then the rosters of other Big Ten schools, when you look at that 5-hour radius, if we could keep those guys home, so to speak, we can win a championship with guys within a 5-hour radius of our campus. So we're working really hard to get there. And I know that, you know, we've got a ways to go in a lot of areas, but we're making progress every single day to get where we want to be.
Barry, you can pass this along to one of the other team guys if you think they're better, I guess, to answer any of these questions. But you mentioned before the relationship building, specifically with Jet Goldsberry. How did that relationship develop, and then how did it turn into a commitment signing at the very end?
Yeah, I think we always, number one, identify guys that we think are in a position to help us win in all areas, academically, socially, obviously athletically. And just because someone has committed maybe to another place, that doesn't end the relationship. You continue to try to recruit them. I know that all 21 guys that we signed today, they all had opportunities to go somewhere else. So as long as the prospect and or the family and the high school coach are still allowing recruiting, it's our job to do everything we can to try to continue to recruit them. So it was ongoing with Jet. I'm thrilled to have a chance to coach him. Was able to watch him play in person on our second bye week in his semifinal game. He played every snap almost of the game. You know, quarterback on offense and played, you know, every snap of defense that he could. And just the tenacity he plays with, he's explosive, is a special player. And for us to be able to keep him in state and be part of who we are going forward, we're excited about the versatility he has, the playmaking skills he has, and the way he plays the game.
Yeah, Coach, just getting Josiah Hope as well, flipping him. Talk about that relationship and what he can mean to the program.
I think Kelvin Green, you know, and along with Jet, go back, you know, Coach Shear and Coach Clark with him, this continuing to work on the relationship and these guys at the table as well, how important that was. And then with Josiah, we had him early on campus on a visit. I don't remember what month that was exactly, guys, but he was here early, and you know, you could see once he was on campus, there was close to an opportunity at that point that he was going to commit to us and decided not to. You know, committed somewhere else and still just continued to pour into the relationship. And I think at the end of the day that helped us because we stayed true to everything that we talked about, ended up being true, you know, in every aspect towards the end of what recruiting was for him. And now my challenge for those guys, when I talked to most of them this morning, you know, today is a great day, an exciting day for everyone, but this is not the mountaintop. This is another step on the journey of what it takes, and now how important it is to flip the switch from a mentality standpoint and get ready to, now it's not waiting on your turn to go play, it's let's go create the opportunity to help this team go win this next season.
What's the best part of this class?
I think the versatility, and then if you look at, there's a lot of guys that either competed, won, or went down deep into the playoffs in their respective state. So I think there's a winning culture with that, the expectation of what that looks like, a lot of really good programs represented here, and just can't wait to get them into our building and our campus and start teaching them about Purdue.
You had a lot of older players in the secondary this year. You got a handful here committed. How big was Dax, somebody who's already got that college experience, to join this group?
Yeah, I think it's really important. You know, and there's going to be a lot of changes still with our roster here in the next few weeks. So how important it is for us to continue to add when opportunity presents itself. But again, it's got to be the right fit. We did have a number of guys that just had 1 year of eligibility at that position and leaving. So how important it is to piece together the right guys. You know, are they just a corner? Is there position flexibility where they can play both safeties and the nickel spot? All that goes into, you know, the decisions we make on how we add guys at that position specifically. but there's a lot of opportunity there for sure, and especially for these guys. And then for Dax to come in, when his junior college season is over, they're still competing and playing. He's a punt returner. He's played, a couple of safety spots for them. So I think he's got a little more experience, obviously, with the junior college world than some of the high school guys. But we expect for us to get those guys in position to go play and help us right away.
Some of these guys that you got very early in the process once you got here, Rico being one, Brock Brownfield, I think, Kobe Cherry maybe. How did they help build this class just because now they're on board, they can go out and kind of behind the scenes recruit these guys to come and be their teammates?
I look at what Rico, what he has done and held true to staying committed to us. Same thing with Brock. Both of those guys are going to be really good college football players. They've got the characteristics that you look for at that position to be somebody that I think will have a great college career. But also the mentality of what they were able to do, the toughness that they displayed, and then the truthfulness and the honesty that they just continued to hold with us through a very, very tough season. And they both, again, they had plenty of opportunities, and for them to stick to their word, that makes me think even more highly of what they're going to do once they get here.
What drew you guys to Cornberry?
Say it again. I'm sorry, I didn't hear the first.
What drew you guys to Cornberry?
Yeah, we had him. Coach Henshaw and Coach Henson knew about him early on. There was a connection with a high school coach. Both of them were able to go see him throw live. It would have been last January, I guess, when we got on the road for the first time as a staff. And then again in spring evaluation, that would have been the time that they saw him. Really thought that he had some traits and skill sets that we look for just in delivery, arm strength, talent in that part of it. And then also you look at the history of Purdue with quarterbacks, and I think every kid that we've talked to through the recruiting process, you start dropping names of guys that have been at Purdue that have played that position, and it stands out, and it's very, very attractive, and that helped us for sure.
What about his skill set makes you think that he'd be a good fit in your guys' offensive scheme?
Yeah, I think, again, I think he has qualities. Number one, size-wise, 6'3", and maybe a little bit taller than that. He runs well, is elusive, but also there's not a throw on the field that I don't think he can make. I mean, he's got work to go and progress to make. But again, he'll be here, here in a couple of weeks, and we'll get started with that development.
For when the early enrollees get here, is there anything that you kind of look for in terms of what you want them to get out of their first several months on campus? Is it grasping the playbook? Is it transforming their bodies? Like, how do you kind of gauge how much freshmen grow?
Yeah, it's all the above, and it's total experience, and then every person in our organization pouring into them. It's hard. I was a mid-year enrollee, and I remember, change is always hard, and newness, and you go from being the starting quarterback to walking in that you're not the starting quarterback the first day you step on campus here. There's some of those things just from, the time management standpoint, the ability for us to continue to build the relationship, and then you look at, again, the academic workload that it's going to take, the off-season work that's going to be different for all these guys. So looking for them to allow themselves to be coached, to continue to be hungry in the process to be a great football player, and at some point out of this group of 21 that we have right now, there's going to be some leadership qualities that start to stand out as they feel comfortable in the process of getting started at a new spot.
Will you guys look to add to this class in the February signing period? And if so, are there any spots in particular you feel like you need to add to?
Yeah, I think you look at the best players available, and I think in the world of at least high school recruiting, it's changed a little bit. There's still a number of really good high school players out there. Now the job of the people sitting here comparing, okay, is that better than what we might be able to get as a portal transfer? There's no perfect science to that, but we've got to trust our evaluation and then figure out what we can do. To answer your question, we'll certainly add to this class, and I don't know right now if that'll be through another high school signee, and certainly will be through the portal.
You mentioned a couple times here that, like, the guys who stayed to their word, signed, committed early, stuck through this. How difficult was it to keep this class together? Was it just because of the way the season went? Was that more difficult? And how did you guys appeal to those guys? And I'm sure it was a case-by-case basis, but
Yeah.
in general, how did you feel like you kept that together?
I think once you get, and recruiting has almost moved up a full year in its cycle. So, everyone's committing earlier, and that's great, but it's also the other side of that. You've got to get them and keep them committed through the first week of December, which is really, really hard to do. It doesn't matter if you have the best of all seasons or the worst of seasons. It's still going to be difficult because there's narratives, there's noise, there's conversation, and we're no different than anybody else. Just because they say they're committed, if they're still accepting recruiting, you've got to be the loudest voice on what they hear. And that's not easy, but I think our staff and the front office staff, they did a tremendous job on keeping the guys committed, continuing to show, and they could see the process and the progress once they came on campus on what we had talked about. And says a lot about them, not only our staff, but also the assistant coaches and everybody else that poured into it on how important it is. And then, again, I don't want to leave out, the importance of the relationship with the high school coaches, because if it weren't for them, because coaches can see, even though the schedule, the results weren't exactly what we wanted, not even close this year, high school coaches saw progress, and they understood what they were going to have if they sent their kids to us, and that meant a lot.
Yeah, just on maybe I know Barry has said before about resources and having what you need here at Purdue, and maybe a question for Brandon or Butler, just maybe just in the wonderful new world of college football and college sports, how does rev share and NIL come into the conversation? Does it come into the conversation before when you're looking at high school kids? Is it something you deal with throughout? I mean, how just maybe walk us through how that discussion is and what role it plays in gathering a recruiting class in today's world.
Yeah, I was going to be the only one to speak, but I'll be happy to turn this one over. That's a joke. There's a little truth in every joke, right? I will tell you from a head coaching standpoint, it is not I wonder if the conversation is going to be brought up about rev share. It's every single conversation.
Yeah, so appreciate the question. Like Coach Odom said, it's every conversation is kind of a matter of when. Most times you can't even start recruiting a kid until you give, an offer to them from a rev share perspective and talk through our resources in a way that will support them throughout their NIL experience. So every conversation, whether it's a high school kid, whether, they're class of 2026, 27, some even 28s, and then obviously in the transfer portal as well, every single conversation starts with an offer. And going back to the beginning of your question, asking about resources and if we've been supplied with everything that we need, we absolutely have. We have everything that we need in order to compete with the best of the best, not only in our conference, but across the country as well.
I will, if I can add to that. Thanks, Brandon. That's part of the recruiting and the evaluation for us. If that's the only thing that a prospect is worried about, Purdue's not the right fit for them. Okay, not in how we're structuring the program, and that's certainly part of it and a big part of it. But that's not if they're just chasing that, we'll be as competitive as anyone. But if that if you're just chasing money, if you're just chasing what that looks like, you're going to live a life full of unhappiness, and you'll never be developed the way that you should. You'll never reach the opportunities that exist through the process of working to be your best in every area, and then the gratification of winning games together with a group of guys that are like-minded. There's no feeling like it.
Yeah, you check the box here. You got 21 signees onto the portal. We've had a couple guys already into the portal. Have you given any thought to what your needs are position-wise in the portal?
Yeah, the portal really, and you know, that we've got to be careful with that because it doesn't open until January 2nd. So the announcements that we see, that's the intent of the player at this point. They're saying they're going to get in the portal, and it's all over college football. You know, we can't reach out to those guys yet because the January 2nd is when the portal officially opens. So again, there will be so many things and moving parts here. Later this afternoon, tomorrow, the next 3 weeks, whatever that looks like, we will be very, very aggressive at every position on trying to find a way to build the roster to help us win in 2026 at every single spot.
Yeah, Coach, you talked a lot about size with this incoming class, and Amari Towns is someone certainly has that at 6'6", 220. What other than size excites you about his game?
Well, I think, who'd you ask about? I'm sorry. Oh, yeah. The first clip that I saw of Amari was he was playing basketball. And every dunk that you can do, not you specifically, but every dunk that's available, he can do it. I mean, just like athletic skill set that is off the charts. And so the number one, and that, worked for Gary Pinkel for a long time. And that was one on his kind of his tough questions and checklist, physical characteristics. Does he play other sports? And if you check the box, yes, that was a redeeming quality. And then you look at the film on how he played. I'll try to keep Coach Painter away from him because on the basketball court, he is phenomenal. So his skill set there, I think he's just scratching the surface on what he can be as a football player. But as far as a true athlete and the size and the ability to develop him, I think he's got a tremendous future.
Coach, you got 9 different position groups represented by this class. How important is that variety for this program now and down the line?
Yeah, I think we're always going to be a high school recruiting team. And if you can identify guys that we feel like can win in the Big Ten, and then you get them in your program and develop them, hopefully that we get these 21. And next year at this time, there's been a number of them that have played for us, but also that we retain in the program. And then year 2 in the program, then they may be a starter. Okay, and I'm not saying, some of these guys may come in and start right now. I'm not saying they're not, but also the ability at each position to get a core group of guys, add to the guys that we signed in the short cycle last year, add this group to it, and then you've got a strong foundation of what it's really supposed to start looking like. And I think that's really, really important on the flexibility of the roster by position to get every single position represented in some context.
Over the past couple of weeks, you've mentioned retention on your own, like keeping the key players here. I guess just as of today, what's your vibe on that? Like your confidence level that you're going to be able to do that?
Confidence level, it changes minute by minute. And I wish I had a great answer. There's no, and I'm not trying to be hard to work with on this. I feel good about it, but also I didn't bring my phone in here and I could walk out the door and have 5 guys saying, hey, we decided we're going to go elsewhere. So it's daily. We've had exit meetings with all the players on the team. I feel like we're in a good spot. That can change in a moment's time, for the good or the bad. So we're continuing to work on that and understanding, how important it is, hopefully, to keep a number of these guys. Because I do feel really strongly about the core nucleus of guys that we have. If we can keep them another year in the system and the program, certainly going to help us out.
As professionals, is that the same skill set as when you're closing a high school recruiting class? Is it a completely different part of the job? Like, do you understand? Like, is there a correlation there?
I think some of the guys that have college experience, I think there may be more opportunities because they've proven it on this level to an extent. There's actual validation of them playing in a college game. Okay, so coaches can identify that and see that and say, okay, I see the body of work there, his skill set compared to a high school player that's just played high school ball. So yes and no, honestly, on what that looks like. I think there's some carryover and similarities, but some differences as well.
And you ended the season, I think, with 5 scholarship quarterbacks, and now you're adding another with Corin. Is that a position you're going to still be aggressive with in the portal, or does it have to be attrition in order for that to make sense roster-wise?
Yeah, it all depends on who ends up deciding to stay.
You talked about the early guys in the class and how they kind of helped build this thing, but the guys who are already here, we saw them, through 10 straight losses come up here and continue to say the foundation is there. They're still playing for something. How much of a selling point is that, where those guys have the right mindset through, what you went through this season?
No, I think for the most part, you talk to the guys, and I had senior exit meetings individually with every single senior, and you listen to the things they were saying, and I don't think they were just telling me what I wanted to hear. They were very, very honest and open about a number of things, which was great, and I respect it because they did, even though we fell short in win-loss. There was a lot of great things that came out of that, and how close we all feel like that we are. And my regret, one of my regrets with them is that I could not get that group to a bowl game because I wanted to experience that with those guys. And that they had echoed the same things, but also it was a little bit for me in a good place to be able to hear what they thought, how close we really are. And they know that next year when we're getting ready to play in postseason play this week next year, they will know that, and they do know that they were such a huge part of the beginning of what that's going to be for consistent time.
I think Isaiah Wright might have been your guys' most productive signee as far as their senior season. Just what do you like about his game and his skill set?
I do think the way he runs, pad level toughness. I do think he's got some speed, really, really good vision, and he's built physically like a guy that could come in and help us right away. And he's got the right demeanor. I think he's got the right mindset. He won't shy away from pass protection. I just think he's got a lot of those qualities early on that in his favor can help him out.
And then a couple of defensive ends, edge guys, Max Carmichael and K-Trail Webb. Just what do you like about them?
Yeah, Max is, man, he is, I want to say, how tall is Max? 6'5", 6'7". I mean, he's got really good length. I think he's got good explosion and acceleration off the ball. And then K-Trail Webb, look at, some of the things that we saw him on his junior tape do out of the stand-up defensive end, joker position. I think it relates well to what we want him to do at this level. He's got the ability to bend. He's got the ability to really have a one-on-one, get him in that situation, pass rush. He's got some natural ability with that, and excited to get both of them here and help us out.
Barry, will Butler's job be to build the roster? Is he the boss of that?
They're all my boss. I've got 1, 2, 3, 4. I've got 5 bosses in the room, so at least, and I probably missed somebody, but we all work together. And I think when you look at the ability to collaborate with talent evaluation and acquisition, and the number of things, and then recruiting experience, if we don't work together, we're cheating what could be something really, really special. So I've got a lot of trust in how we've got the start of this structured, and we all have different skill sets of what we do well. We've got blind spots on where we need help, and I need help in all areas. And but I'm in a really good spot on where I think this thing is going, from evaluation, recruiting, and then going and securing guys.
More questions for Coach?
Just want to go back to Jet, and obviously his dad played here on some of the best teams Purdue's ever had. When you have legacy kids who are of that talent, how important is it that you kind of dip into things that happened 25 years ago to kind of sell them? Yeah,
I think, and every situation will be different. Some, there was, and I'm going to go back on just a personal story. I had a younger brother that followed me And, I played at a certain place, and I could not understand why we couldn't get, neither could the coaches. They couldn't understand why I couldn't get him to come play where I did in college. But he didn't want any part of that. He wanted to go write his own story, and he didn't. He went elsewhere. So every situation's a little bit different, and I think there's part of that with Jet that, man, is so cool. John was a really good player, and excited to have part of, that history. He taught me a lot about, some of his teams, on what that looked like, and the coaches, and so that was good for me. But also Jet's going to write his own, write his own story and blaze his own trail. There will always be a component of that because of the connective piece. But I've got to be careful not to always just assume, well, Jet wants to come here because his dad did, because I go back to what it was like for me and my own family, or what that looked like. I just don't want to assume that, hey, we're going to go get this kid because his dad or his uncle played here. That may not be the case, or I think it certainly helped us in this situation. But also, I want Jet to be his own guy, and do his own thing, and also he'll be reminded plenty of times that his dad played here, and that's great. But also, my challenge is to get Jet to be the best him and put him in position to be successful.